Yo, guys, before we let that beat drop, I just want to welcome you to another episode of the Late Afternoon Show. It's your boy, Tim. Let's go. Yo, we have an electric guest today. You guys are not going to want to miss. This is a recorded show, but you can still leave comments. We can still hear your thoughts. We are talking with Ina Coveney today. We are about to have a blast. Let's go. I want you guys to tell us in the chat where you are joining us from. Are you in the States? Are you in Europe? Are you in Africa? Where are you from? City, state, we want to see Meaningful Work family is extending to. So let us know where you're joining us from. Let's go. With the rest of your crew, flashing on you down, I said we. As I was walking by, saw your book was dry. I can't believe we're on season 4 of the Late Afternoon Show. It has been such a blessing to talk with you guys and talk with the smart people, get your feedback, and just talk about meaningful work and how it applies in different settings. I just want to reach out and say thank you guys so much for joining us on this journey. 4 seasons in. Let's go. Magnetism in the air. Call me out of nowhere. I'm buzzing like guitars and rock and roll. You give me those good old vibrations. Baby, you and me on the same frequency. We're going to give it about 20 more seconds before we start today's show. Come on, vibe with me, baby. Vibe with me. All right, I'm gonna stop it there. I could go all day, but we don't have time for a show that is just about the intro. We got to get in today's episode with your business coach. Guys, I am so excited. I met Ina on a conference, a virtual conference, one of my friends invited me to, and I thought I was late because I got the email or the text late. And I quickly try to log in and say, what is this? It's like an association for influencers and thought leaders. And I was like, this is my first thing I don't want to be like. I jumped on and bam, smacked in the face with Ina's energy, her vibrancy. I was like, whoa, what? I mean, she was just smiling and giving deep gems. Not sometimes you go on these webcasts and things and they give you very high level, surface veiled advice and things like that. She was giving the cookies, y'all. She was giving the cookies. And I was like, I'm in the car, which is probably not recommended. So I'm listening on my phone and I'm like writing notes like in the car about all the things that she's talking about. And I was like, yo, I have to have her on the Late Afternoon Show to add some value to our audience. And so without further ado, let's get our audience. Audience, are you ready? Where's our audience? There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome to the stage.
I love that.
Settle down. Okay,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
What's up, Ina? How are you doing?
Tim, congratulations on season 4. That is
Yeah. We're just going at it, and just excited. I was surprised. I was telling my friend who helps me with like the graphics and sometimes with the show notes and things like that. I was like, hey, we're getting ready for season 4. She said season 4
Whoa.
already. That's crazy, but I'm excited. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, and thank you so much for that awesome introduction. I just wanted to say that it was my honor to smack you in the face with my energy. That was, just I can wear that as a badge of honor, the fact
Yeah,
that
exactly.
I
Yo,
managed to do that. So no,
you
thank you.
smack.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yo, I am excited that you are here with us to share some of the wisdoms. I mean, one of the things that I just love about you, Ina, is not just the energy, but the authenticity that you bring, the realness that you bring. If anybody goes to your Instagram and watches your stories and looks at your timeline and just sees how you incorporate real life with your life and your business while still adding tremendous value, guys, you got to go check her out. But I want to do one thing. I want to ask you a question. What are you famous for? Like, what is the thing that people know you for?
They know me for being able to monetize tiny audiences. So here's the deal. My world, my universe that I live in every day is the online coaching world. What is that? It just means that if you have something in your head that you can teach to somebody else, you are a coach. Whether you're charging for it or not, that's really up to you. But if you're going out there teaching other people how to do something, you are a coach. So that's the online coaching industry, is being able to really monetize what's already in your head. But if you go into my industry, like if you step into my world, right? Because I really feel like there's different universes. When I was in corporate, I had no idea that this universe existed or that it was even out there, right? So when I stepped into it, there's all of these niches and there's all of these neighborhoods, and you start to kind of learn. But one thing that is huge in the culture of this universe is to grow your audience, right? That's like the holy grail. That's what everybody wants to do, is let's grow our audience. And I'm no different than anybody else. When I started, I'm like, okay, I guess I need to grow my audience. The thing is that I didn't pull it off. I totally failed and fell flat on my face, especially my first year. I thought, okay, maybe Facebook ads is the way to grow. I dumped $3,000 on an agency that did absolutely nothing for me, no fault of their own. But I was just too, number one, immature in my business. I didn't really know who my audience was. I didn't have a warm audience to work off of, right? So if you tell Facebook, hey, find my audience, and they don't have any background, Facebook's gonna be like, I don't know, here's some people, right? Like, so you need to be prepared for Facebook ads. And I wasn't. So after that happened, I'm like, well, I'm never doing Facebook ads again. Nothing wrong with Facebook ads. I was just not ready for them, but I swore them off. And I'm like, well, I need to grow my business in some way, right? If it's not going to be through growing my audience, which is what everybody's telling me to do, then I got to figure it out. So I have reached the 6-figure mark in my business without even cracking 1,000 followers in any of my platforms, not
Let's
even
go.
my mailing
Let's
list.
go.
So,
Let's go.
so that's what I teach. And it's not because I don't want to grow my audience. I'd love to have 100,000 followers tomorrow. It's just I never pulled it off. So you know what? I'm going to forget about it. I'm just going to teach you how to get clients regardless of how many people are following you.
That is so that is so real. And it just puts into perspective the journey, right? Everybody, one of the things that one of the folks I follow, Gary V, he says everybody starts at 0 followers. Like everybody starts at 0 followers, and you have to be able to engage and connect. One of the things I love that you do, I think it was last week or a few days ago, and I think you were like right at 500 or a little over 500, like, oh, I got to whittle that down. These are
yeah, it's like, no way, no.
This is too, yeah.
I can't let my, so just to give everybody a little bit of perspective, I have had an Instagram account since I started my business, since I quit my job in 2018, but I was really like warm and cold with it. I didn't know what I was doing on Instagram. So I kind of trained Instagram to see me as an unreliable resource, right? So this year, when I decided to really, okay, I'm just going to put all my chips on Instagram, because before I really spent 3 years in Facebook. That was my place. I'm like, okay, I'm really going to give this a shot. My audience grew by like 250 people in like 5 months, which by the way, it's just very slow growth.
Mm,
And I'm like, what is happening? Why is this happening? So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to start from scratch. I'm going to let Instagram forget my history, and I'm
yeah,
going to create a new account, and I'm going to do all the things that I feel like are right to
yeah,
grow the right audience and everything in
yeah.
a new account, which is now Your Engagement Coach, right? So I started this account 3 months ago. It actually had its 3-month birthday 3 days ago.
Hey, happy birthday account.
Thank you. So now I surpassed the 500 mark this past week.
Yes,
And
saw
but
that.
it was really important to me, because this is what I teach, is the engagement piece, is talking to
Yeah,
people, is being genuine. It was really important to me that they were not bots, that they
yeah,
were not companies, that they were
yeah.
not weird men looking for love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was
Mm-hmm.
really important to me that it was real people. So
Yeah,
what you saw was me, like, I had 499 followers, but I hadn't cleaned up in a couple weeks. So I'm
yeah.
like, no, I am not gonna claim 500 followers if I know that a certain percentage of them are just not my people. So I
I
went back
love
and
it.
I cleaned up, and it went down to like 480. And I'm like,
Ah.
I can breathe better knowing that
These
it's
are
the
my
real
people.
people.
Yeah,
These are my people,
yeah.
right?
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And so as you're going on this journey, so I mean, this all sounds pretty recent, right? You said within the last year, within the last 3 months. These are things that are happening pretty much real time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I talk about and that we kind of discussed at the top of the program was, there's folks that are in corporate America. They're working, they're employees, they're working in a team, working in a field. And what we teach at Mr. Meaningful Work is, how do you experience meaningfulness in the work that you're doing?
Mhm.
How do leaders create an environment of meaningful work in their teams? And then how do people, toggle that? But more and more, we're seeing that it's, especially my generation, and I also recruit Generation Z, like folks that are just coming, in a college, out of college, that they are going to have something else. They're going
Mhm.
to have something else. They're either going to be working in an organization or have something else. Talk to us about that journey for yourself in being in an organization and discovering that this online coaching thing, that you wanted to fly into this universe. I love the picture that you painted of like the universe
It
of
really
this
is.
industry, the neighborhoods. Talk to us about how you went on that journey of like, you know what, I want to move from being in this corporate universe into that corporate universe. What did that look like?
Sure. First of all, I'm going to preface this by saying I have what I've always called corporate pedigree. Okay. My father was the CIO of the biggest corporation in Venezuela. My mother was a very successful project manager in the same company. And I just always was around these people who just made an incredible life for themselves. My parents are incredibly smart, very pragmatic people. And I just saw them succeed at what they did. Now, when I was in high school, I thought that I wanted to go to school to write books, right? I thought I
Mhm.
was, if you think about it, it's like, wow, it's like content creation. I didn't even think about it that way. But I wanted to just go to school to study. I'm from Venezuela, so I was going to study the equivalent of getting an English degree here,
Yeah,
right? But obviously, it's not English if
yeah,
it's Spanish. But like, I really was into the words, into
yeah,
like writing books. And then my senior year, my mother tells me, well, you're so good with computers, right? Like, can't you like, why don't you take a programming class and
yeah,
then get back to me? Like, if you don't
yeah,
like it, that's cool. But
yeah,
especially like where I'm from,
yeah,
I it's definitely different everywhere, but where I'm from, studying the equivalent of an English
yeah.
degree, it it sounds like a dead end career, especially to
True.
like my parents, right? They're like, listen, like, can you just like try
I think it's the
something
same for African people too. Like Nigerian folks who's like, English, arts. It's like you either an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer.
Thank
You have
you.
your choice in any of
Right.
those.
By the way, with the preface here, like, please know we're not trying to disparage anything. We're
No,
talking about
no,
like
yeah,
when I grew up, where I grew up,
for sure.
engineering was the thing,
Yep.
right? Like, you grow up, you become an engineer, right?
Yeah,
That was it. So
yeah,
me wanting to study quote unquote English
yeah.
was like, what are you doing with your life? Right? So my parents were like just trying to influence me in a different
Yeah.
way. So I did take a programming class. I'm like, yeah, I'm good with computers. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And that class ended up feeling like a game to me. It was a programming class teaching Pascal, which is actually it's not an object-oriented programming language. It doesn't have a database running behind it. It's just like a very flat programming language where you just tell the computer what to do in instructions. It's like, I just want the computer to do this and this and this and save this value here. Like that's basically all Pascal does. And display like nice pretty screens. So I created a program that was supposed to be like managing a post office, right? And it was just so fun. It was so fun that I go to my mom and I'm like, wait a minute, what you're telling me is that somebody out there is gonna pay me like
to play this game.
to play a game all day. Like that's what you're telling me. So my decision was made. I studied computer science in school and I loved it. I actually I got accepted into UMass Amherst for the computer engineering major. And I'm like, I went to the orientation and I'm like, nope. Heck no. I turned around. I went straight from the orientation to go change my major to pre-computer science. Like, no, I'm not doing that. Don't make me do electronic boards. I want to program. So I did that. I thought my career was going to be a software engineer, and that's it. So I get to my senior year and I go apply for jobs and nobody wants me. This is 2003. This is 2 years after 9/11. Most companies have just closed down their international hiring programs, right? They're like, we are scared of foreigners. We're just not going to hire them. So the only job I was able to get, it was totally by chance. They found me on their database of resumes that was like 2 years old. And I know because they were calling me in my old phone number in my old dorm room where my old roommate still lived and who I had a falling out with. And she thought that I was sending my work calls to her to like spite her. This was a whole thing.
Wow, that's a whole thing.
Right?
Wow.
That's how I know that they just found me by chance. This was not recent. I got a job at General Electric in their information management leadership program. And I remember having a meeting with the CIO where he's meeting all the new recruits. And I tell him, he's like, okay, so what do you like to do? Like talking about meaningful work, like what would make your job like meaningful? I'm like, well, I love to program. And he's like, well, we do all of our programming. We outsource it to India. So you're not going to be programming here, right? And my face just dropped. I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? And I wanted to quit. I called my mom and my mom was like, please finish the program. It was a 2-year program. Please just finish the program. What else are you going to do with your life? These people are sponsoring you. Just like, stay, do that.
Do it. Yeah.
So I stayed and I ended up, making a pretty successful career at GE. I was head of departments. I became a super project manager, discovered all these skills that I didn't know I had, but I still kind of was like, I feel like a fake computer scientist if I'm not programming. So when I had my first baby, I went on maternity leave and I felt like this was my chance because it is the only time that I'm going to have time that I'm not working. So I went down to my local diner because I noticed they didn't have a website and I went up to them. I'm like, can I make your website? I'll make it for free. I just want to program.
I just need a program, please. Give me
That's all I want to do. And just let me make your website. And they said yes. Since then, they've always let me eat there for free. And it's an amazing place.
Let's go.
Right. So I made their website and then I posted it online. And since then, I've always gotten referrals to make websites. So that's kind of like how things started down the entrepreneurial path.
Yeah.
Right. Coaching came much later, but I have so much to say about having a side hustle. Did you this is your side hustle, your podcast, right?
Yeah.
Right?
This is why. And actually the whole idea for Mr. Meaningful Work came from me always having a side hustle, like always doing something. I would have like a regular job and but I'll always be dabbling in a number of different things. And it was affecting my energy, it was affecting my time, it was affecting relationships and things like that. And so when I got a new job at the top of 2020, new job, new city. We just moved the family up here and things like that. And I was like, you know what? I need to figure out, why is it that I'm always drawn to something else? Even if I have something stable, why am I always drawn? Like, what is meaningful for me? Like, the
Mhm.
jobs are good, the leadership is good. Like, why am I always drawn to something? So I decided to make that discovery the side hustle. So the whole
Yeah.
Mr. Meaningful work came from like, hey, just document my journey, my learnings, my conversations. And through that, got, curated a bunch of stuff, and are, as now, like, I'm now teaching it and speaking on it, and creating something like that. So
Yeah.
it was born from that discovery. So now when
Yeah.
we're talking to folks that are employees in organizations that are experiencing similar, and trying to decide, hey, which direction should I go? Like, should I follow, should I stay?
Mhm.
There's definitely content for them as well. And so how did that happen for you? So now you're in the coaching world. You start to discover entrepreneurship, kind of wanting to follow your passion for building and being creative and developing and programming.
Yeah.
And things started to happen. So how did it come out that, coaching is my sweet spot?
Yeah, that didn't happen until much later. And I want to
Yeah.
like just press pause and just tell you, before the coaching thing even happened, a few years after I started making websites on the side, by the way, I wasn't charging much. And any mindset coach will tell you, oh, that's because you had mindset problems. You can't receive money. They'll tell me all of these things. But to me, like, what I kept telling myself was, well, I'm not really doing this for the money. I just want to do this like for me. I just want to keep my right. I
Yeah.
just want to keep my skills sharp,
Yeah.
right? So I wasn't really thinking about like creating a company until I found I found a little window into that coaching world, and I still didn't know that it was coaching. I just
Yeah.
found a podcast episode by someone who makes a living just like teaching people stuff. That's why I decided at the top of the episode, I decided to describe to you guys, like, if whatever idea you have of coaching, it just means teaching, right?
Yeah.
So I found this podcast by a very incredible, very successful woman in this world, who was just teaching people about online marketing. And
Yeah.
because I was in IT, in the IT world, in information technology, in a company, we always feel like we're the ones running the show because nobody can do anything
Yeah.
without what we do, right? With what we
Yeah.
provide.
Yeah.
So when I would hear like the marketing team, I'm like, what do they do? We are the ones that like, we're the
Yeah.
backbone of
Yeah.
everything. So she was teaching about online marketing, and I just found it really intriguing that she would talk about the fact that she made $1 million business and she created her own team and she's
Yeah.
teaching the stuff that she's good. I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like I could do that. So I decided, this was, by the way, years before I even quit my job, I
Yeah.
decided to to incorporate my company. Right. And I said, because I want to protect because if I'm going to give myself more exposure, I need to protect myself. So I incorporated, I got
Yeah.
myself my own, my own bank accounts for the business.
Nice.
Right. So like
Nice.
that was like a pivotal point when I incorporated, because now I was the CEO of In a Nutshell LLC, right? That's the
Nice.
name of my company, is In a
Yeah.
Nutshell, right? Which, by the way, used to be my AOL screen name when I
Hey,
was a job.
AOL.
Uh,
Shout out to AOL. Ding
right?
dong, ding dong.
Totally aging myself here. But yeah, so I always love that. It's like In a Nutshell. So
Yeah.
now I was the CEO. So you know what that did for me? I put that on my resume, right? Like, here's everything that I've done professionally, and then here are the other things that I do. I'm the CEO of In a Nutshell, a web design and development company.
Yeah.
And that did two things for me. Number one, it made me extremely confident walking into interviews, because I knew
I'm
my
already.
stuff,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I would walk in like I owned the place. I would walk in. I was always prepared. This is the big tip for interviewing for everybody. Find out who are the people who are going to interview you and look them up.
Mm.
Pretend
Yes. Let's go. Tell
Please,
them. Tell
please,
them.
I want you to pretend that you are the one interviewing them, right? So
I need to
how
put the applause emoji back on that,
we
because
need we need
I
the
do
applause for that.
interviews like all like for the next 6 weeks. That's what I'm doing, and that's some of the feedback is like, look up the people, do the research, and Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
right?
yes.
Because you hear that advice all the time. That's like, oh, pretend that you're interviewing them, because really you are. You're really trying to assess if you want to work there or not. But
Yeah.
people don't really take that seriously when you think
Yeah.
about that the person across the table from you has your resume. They
Yeah.
know so much about you and you know
Yeah.
nothing about them. How are you supposed
Yeah.
to interview them? So
Exactly.
I would to go to an interview, I would look up those people. I would look up their LinkedIn profile, and I
Yeah.
would look them up on social media, and I
Yeah.
would come. They had their resume, I had theirs, right? And I would be like, okay,
Balls.
so balls. I, I'd be like, okay, so it looks like you moved from California. What made you move here?
Come
Right?
on. You
And
just switched the whole.
and how do you like working here? And why did you
Yeah.
leave your last job? And
Yeah.
why was this job a better option? Right? Like, I'm the one asking all the interview questions, and these people were blown away, because I'm like, you guys, when you have your own company, you realize that this job is not the only thing
Yeah.
in the world. You
Yeah.
realize that you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Your
Yeah.
eggs are evenly spread,
Yeah.
right? It's like, I don't need you guys.
Yeah.
If you
This
want,
is this is
right?
just an additional option for me.
It's just it's
Yeah.
an option. I
Yeah.
already have a company. I
Yeah.
don't need you. And
Yeah.
I just told you that I was charging peanuts,
Yeah.
right? I was not making
Yeah.
bank
Yeah.
and matching my salary by any means.
Yeah.
But like, I walked in with a certain level of confidence that they could see,
Yeah.
and they would walk away like, oh my, like, we need to have her.
Yeah.
Like, give her whatever
Yeah.
she wants. I
Yeah.
could demand a higher salary. I walked in like I owned the
Yeah.
place. So that's one thing that having a side hustle did for me, right? And I just want to say this because I know I have a lot of people in my audience who want, or they have their side hustle, but they can't tell their companies that they're doing it.
Yeah.
That's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're like in the financial industry and you want to
Yeah.
become a money coach, it
Not a
can be
lot of
this complex.
non-competes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So one of the things that I would say is, if you are looking for another job, like, don't hide it. Right now, people, like companies, they're looking for experts,
For
right?
sure.
They're looking for people who they can like farm out to conferences who are going to represent them.
Yes.
You want to be that person, so don't
Yeah.
hide it. Don't
Yeah.
make the decision for them already and assume, wait, they're a financial services company, so they're not going to want to hear that I'm a financial coach. Tell them that you're a financial coach, that you have a podcast,
Yeah.
right? That you create content every day, and that this is your area of expertise, and that you're going to be writing a book in the next 5 years.
I
You
tell my
tell them
students
that.
all the time, like, the importance of building a personal brand as you are looking for roles, looking for jobs is pivot. Like, it's critical, because they don't have to look at the piece of paper anymore. They can just see the body of work to show your passion. Because what you're doing is you're demonstrating your excitement and your passion in this area, whether it's audio or video or written or conversation. There's so many ways to demonstrate your passion, and people want brands on their teams. Like, it's no longer the black and white on the paper. They want personalities. They want they want forces, like you said. And so I love that. I love that.
So that's a big tip that I have for everybody.
Yeah.
The second thing that this really did for me is just realizing that I have options, like, period. Not just about getting the right job, but like, I had more confidence.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like meaningful work and doing what I love, I would go to work, and I always had in the back of my mind that I'm here because I want to be.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not here because I have to be.
Yeah.
So when something happened at work, which, by the way, nobody ever wakes up from a life where they love their job and they love everything they're doing, and they wake up one morning and they say, I think I'm going to quit my job today to pursue something that is completely uncertain, that I don't know if it's going to pay the bills.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I don't know if it's going to work, but I think I'm going to quit my job today.
No.
Usually that's not how it happens.
Yeah.
Usually something externally happens that makes you go, well, I need to do something else. Right? Something happens. I loved my job. I mean, I was headed to be director of implementation for a tech startup here in Boston.
Nice.
And they went and they gave me that promotion like a month before I went on maternity leave. And I worked my butt off for that promotion. I hired a contractor to come and backfill me while I was on maternity leave so that
Mm-hmm.
things would stay afloat while I was
Yeah.
gone. I'm like, I'll see you guys in January.
Yeah.
And while I was gone, no, and well, something else had happened, which is that they decided in their in infinite wisdom on the year of the Me Too movement to give me the promotion without giving me a raise, which I did not take sitting down. I told them, listen, you gotta do this right. I mean, the whole company has been in turmoil because of Me Too, because you guys are not treating people equally, and now you're giving me a promotion without a raise. Like, what is that about? And they're like, well, it's not really a promotion because, and they're giving me that. I'm like, I'm like, am I explaining to you the fact that this position is, higher risk? It's higher visibility. It's a
Yeah.
bigger team. It's more responsibility. It's
Bigger
going to be
scope.
reporting
Yeah.
to other people. Do I have to explain to you how this is a
Yeah.
promotion? And
Yeah.
then he just goes like, but you're going on maternity leave anyway. And that's right. Oh no, you didn't just say
You
that.
did not. You did not just.
You didn't just say that to me. So I consulted a lawyer, and I'm like, and they're like, yeah, what they did is illegal. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to withhold promotions or pay
Yes.
raises to women who are going maternity leave. That's true. How
Yeah.
far do you really want to take this, though? And here I have my mom and my husband telling me, like, I'm 9 months pregnant, right? They're like, can you just have the baby? Like, they're so concerned for my health. They're so
Yeah.
concerned for my stress levels. They're so concerned that this is going to affect the baby, that this is going to take away from me, like enjoying these 4 months that I'm going to have with him. So they're like, can you deal with it when you get back to work? And so I conceded. And by the way, this is why women get screwed, because we're put in this impossible position to choose
Yeah.
between our health and our families and our jobs. And guess who's
Yeah.
going to win each time? Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, right?
Yeah.
I remember I was being interviewed for a podcast once where the podcaster was a legal rights lawyer
Mm-hmm.
for women, and she was baffled that I wouldn't go the whole way
The whole
with
route.
this
Yeah.
lawsuit. And I'm like, this is why we get screwed, because
Yeah.
if you put these two things in the balance, my health, my stress levels, and my family, and a legal battle and be Joan of Arc,
Yeah.
guess what I'm gonna pick every time?
Yeah.
This is why we get screwed. This is why we
Yeah.
need allies. This is why we
Yeah.
need organizations to like really step up.
For sure.
So it's just a really hard position to be in as a
Yeah.
woman. So they called me up we're not done, by the way. They called me up while I was on maternity leave, and they said, so Ina, that contractor, the male contractor that you hired to backfill you, he's doing a great job. So we
Don't
think
do
that
it.
he
Don't do
should
it.
keep that job. If you wouldn't mind coming back and doing what you were doing before the promotion.
Oh, hell no.
That's what I said.
Hell no. Come on.
So that's when I was like, do you guys even know who I am? Right? Like, do you guys not realize like who you got here? So I talked to my husband and I told him like, this it's just not worth it. Like I'm just not gonna do this. Like I'm not gonna commute 2 hours a day to work for these people who have no idea what they have right here. So my husband, he was like, okay, so that means that you get to stay home for a year and take care of the baby. And I'm like,
About that.
I will be like putting like my business into high gear.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but you're staying home with the baby, right? I'm like, yes, honey, I'm staying home with the baby, but I'm starting my business. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay. So we looked at our finances and
Yeah.
we agreed that I could take a year off,
Yeah.
like just to like try to do my thing. And that's
Yeah.
where coaching really began. And I was totally reluctant to doing coaching. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what I was supposed to do with it. All I wanted was just to have an online course that would sell itself, that would give me passive income, and that was it. But that's just not how you create a business. So it took me like the whole year to really figure out that I needed to start helping people.
Yes.
And that's really how the whole coaching thing started. So what do you think? What do you think? What do you make of that story? Like, isn't that incredible?
That is real life. That is real life. Like people they'll see you now, they'll see you in 5 months or in a year and 6 years when you have, you know, top global podcast and you have, 500,000 clients. Like they'll see that and not realize the journey, not realize the struggle, not realize, some of the adversity that folks have to go through every single day, trying to make that transition. But then at the same time, what I hear from that is that it makes you that much more strong. Like it makes you that much stronger, right? It makes you that much more resilient. Like there's little, like what I'm hearing is like there's little that can be thrown your way that is going to knock you off your rocker,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you have, done all the things. And I love the 2 points that you brought out as far as like starting a coach or starting a hustle or an entrepreneurship while in, pursuing a corporate job is that one, it helps with your brand.
Hmm.
And it helps, show the personality of yourself and your confidence, but it also gives you options, right?
Hmm.
It helps you to, and we'll put this in the show notes. I do like a summary the next day, but it also helps you to, want to be at the place that you're going to be versus have to be at the
Yes.
place that you want to be. And that changes engagement completely. And it changes the dynamic of employer employee relationship and the power dynamic there.
Big time.
Um, but then you're also like, and you're paying it forward. I think that's the thing that I love as well is like, as you're learning these things, you are then teaching folks what you're learning. And that in and of itself is the business, right? It's
Right.
like you are just
People.
teaching folks what you've learned.
Right.
You've packaged it into a, very, very aesthetically, by the way, too. Like I love your whole color scheme, just the
Thank
energy, the
you.
warmth, the brightness, like everything. Like folks see you guys. I mean, we'll put her links and all that stuff in there. Go check out your engagement coach. But it's just you engage with you. And it's like like you can't just help. It's like for me, engaging with your stuff is like salsa music.
Um,
Like salsa music is such a happy dance. I love salsa dancing.
I,
Anytime
I
you dance
admire
salsa,
you, by the way. Salsa is incredibly hard to learn. I'm a merengue girl. Merengue is just too
merengue,
easy. So
yeah, yeah,
easy.
yeah. So and so like just that engagement, like just the feeling, the sense, the atmosphere that you put folks in, is just exciting. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. I know we're kind of coming to the
Thank
bottom of our
you.
time,
Oh,
but you touched
that
on
was
it a
fast.
little bit. But I want to get your definition of meaningful work. What does that mean to
Yeah.
you?
To me, is being where you are supposed to be right now. It like that's all it is. It didn't matter. Like I'm gonna tell you, if I hadn't gotten majorly screwed over in corporate, like if I had come back and they would have retroactively giving me the raise, and I would be the
Yeah,
director of some
yeah,
other something else,
yeah.
someplace else. So for me, it's not about like, hey, you need to quit your job and start your business now. Is
Right.
are you doing the things that really fill you, right?
Yeah,
I loved what I did. I mean,
yeah,
to this day, like project management is just in my blood. It's like,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Computer science is still in my blood. When I create content, I'm
yeah,
dipping into all of that knowledge,
yeah.
right? So I'm doing it. And by the way, when I found out that there was a career where I could be on video, like if this was like, this is my job to be talking to you.
Yeah,
Like when I realized that this was a thing, I'm like, wow, like I can create my own perfect job.
for
But
sure.
it's about you feeling like you're where you're supposed to be,
Yeah,
and be cognizant
yeah,
that even though most of us make a change because something external happens,
yeah,
right? Just be aware that you can technically change your situation at any time. You
yeah,
have a lot more control over your life than
yeah.
you think. So when I think meaningful work, I mean, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing now? And is what I'm doing now helping me to where I want to get to where I want to be? And
Mm,
this is another thing that I'm going to leave you with. I heard this on a podcast a really long time ago, and it like stuck with me. That yourself in 10 years is nothing more than yourself today times 10. So if you feel like in 10 years you will have written 10 books, well, are you writing a book today? Right? Like
it's
then
not
no.
like a magical formula. It's just whatever you are now, I
Yes.
love that.
Yes. And so if right now what you're feeling is, I am miserable at work, but you're not doing anything about it, right? You're not looking new projects inside the company. You're
Yeah.
not making new connections, going to conferences to
Yeah.
network. If you're not building right now, then what
Yeah.
are you multiplying by 10?
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing now times 10 is you in 10 years. So make sure you're doing that thing today.
Guys, look, this has been such an eye-opening. I had high expectations, but my expectations have been exceeded.
We aim to please.
Exceeded.
We aim to please.
We aim to please. High expectations. So what is the best way for folks to engage with you? What can people do right now that would add value to you and your business?
Everybody should just come. If you are on Instagram, go to your engagement coach. No periods, no dashes, no underscores. Just your engagement coach. Go follow me there and send me a DM. Tell me, hey, I just heard the podcast with Tim and it was mind blowing because of XYZ. Come and tell me that because I
Nice.
would love to hear your perspective. I also have a podcast of my own. It's called The Global Phenomenon, where I interview other people who have made it really big in their coaching businesses. So if you need inspiration and stories to start to make you believe that everything is possible, right now on your podcasting app, just go to The Global Phenomenon and look it up and subscribe there. We're starting season 2, which
Let's
is
go.
awesome. It's going to
Let's
be
go.
amazing. So definitely go and check those things out. And I'd love to hear from you. And Tim, you have been a gracious host. This has been so fun. Like, I wish people ask me these questions every day because I would talk about this all day
Yo,
long.
it is energizing work that you're doing. And guys, I want you to fill up her DM. I want the Meaningful Work Mafia. I want you guys to go and fill up her DMs, go and listen to her podcast. She has such a phenomenally exquisite format, guys. One of the best formats that I've heard in podcasting, with a guest and then a roundup, kind of like breaking down what that guest talked about earlier in the week. I mean, it is just a beautiful way to tie in and hardwire the concepts with some of the stuff in between. And I know there's going to be like a really cool format coming up for season 2 that I'm super excited about. So guys, go and check it out. We are going to sign off here for today. Go and leave your feedback at tim@mrmeaningfulwork.com. tim@mrmeaningfulwork.com. If this resonated with you, if you have ideas for future podcasts or guests, or just ideas around meaningful work as well, I would love to engage. Just shoot me an email, tim@mrmeaningfulwork.com. We are going to sign out. Ina, thank you so much. I appreciate